Next, we will discuss how to face an interview. We all give interviews in our day-to-day lives for better jobs, maybe interview, maybe for the same company, how to handle the new project. So it may be of lot many different kinds. At this point of interview, you need to develop your inner personality and you will represent yourself in the very best manner. So we will discuss how to give the interview. No matter how well qualified you are for the job or how articulate you are about your strengths, your capabilities, your experience, there is nothing which can replace that is the preparation. And once you have practiced asking and answering questions, the next step is to relax and remind yourself that there is no question that you cannot answer. You are well suited to the position for which you are giving the interview and you will be an asset to the company. If you think this all three things, definitely there are chances of winning the interview of the life. You can visualize yourself sitting in the interview, filling the scene and feel yourself to be confident. Get a good night's sleep before the interview. Arrive a few minutes early. Take few deep breaths and seize the day. And then you will be prepared for the interview. Before this, perform due diligence. Do your homework before interviews by researching the interviewing individual, the company and the industry. There are varieties and various ways to do the research from the library, by books, periodicals, magazines, then from the literature, from the company public relations department, annual reports, electronic sources of information such as internet. Through all these sources, you can come to know about the company in which you are going to give the interview. Now, for the interview preparation, you should be familiar with the organization's products, structure, services, financial status, competitors, reputation, and any recent major changes. When you prepare, you should be able to identify some of these things such as transferable skills, your key accomplishments, then your management style, your unique selling or promotional features, your skills, your both personal and professional strengths. You must be able to articulate key aspects of yourself in the interview. An ability to express yourself clearly is often more of a deficiency than the lack of required experience for a specific opportunity. So you have to be very clear in your thoughts, in your mind, in your way of speaking, and also what you would like to do for the company. Once you are clear in your mind, then definitely your interview can be successful. One of the best ways to prepare for the interviewing is by scripting your lines in the answer to the most likely to be asked questions. Career counselors and outplacement specialists alike remind transnational executives and professionals of the necessity to look and act the part of a self-confident and a successful person if one does not particularly feel it. So you need to feel yourself very confident, very capable, very active, very positive in your mind before appearing to any of the interview. Then along with your friend or a co-worker, you can organize and review answers to both tough and basic questions. This is the way when you can prepare for the interview. Now just see some of the few tough questions during the time of interview. How has been your personal background influenced what you are today? What is your career progression, your management, people and style? Then they may ask you, how do you define success? How successful you have been? What mistakes you have made during your career? What is the most adverse situation with which you have had to deal in your personal or professional life? How did you deal with it? What was the outcome? What is the difference between a good position and an excellent one? Tell me something about yourself. What are you looking for a new job, or why did you leave the old one? What are your goals? Where would you like to be in the 5 years? Are your goals compatible with your needs? Why should we hire you? What is unique about you? What are your salary requirements? So in preparing to your answers to these questions, think yourself as a candidate in a political campaign. A successful candidate is focused on the message he or she who wants to communicate, rather than being led by the interviewer questions. Candidates stay in control with responses that articulate what they want the listener to remember. Ask yourself, what is my goal in the interview? The most important question is, why should we hire you? Answering to this will require a lot of research and preparation. First, you must identify and understand the needs of the company and the problem that the ideal candidate must be prepared to solve. Information sources include networking contacts, search firms, vendors, the press, the internet, news outlets. But be prepared to convince the interviewer that you are uniquely qualified to make a contribution to that company and to that organization. Also, you can list 5 adjectives that describe you, and then list those 5 adjectives that would describe the ideal candidate for the position. It is a good match. Where are the gaps? Read the complete company annual report and make a note of adjectives used to describe the leadership and the employees. It is a culture in which you will be happy and do your best work. Be prepared with brief about yourself that illustrate the qualities that the company values. So once you are prepared, you can represent yourself in a very good manner, and definitely you will win and you will be successful for the interview. But when you practice your answers, the more confident you grow, the more successful you will be. So rehearse until you can easily answer your questions with clarity, spontaneity, and crispness. Everyone can use interview practice. You might be surprised to know that even the most extroverted, self-confident, verbal salesperson type, or maybe the sales manager, the salesperson, need help in thinking through, organizing their answers to, and rehearsing the interview questions. So everybody in our day-to-day lives need to be interviewed and need to be prepared for the interviewed. So I wish you the best and the best preparation before you prepare for any of the interviews. Then how do you face the interview? You need to relax. You should be ready and confident during the interview. Arrive at the place 10 to 15 minutes before, ahead of time, so that you can make sure that your appearance is good. Then during the interview, you should act like a consultant and not the applicant. Think yourself in problem solving mode, in partnership with your interviewer. You should be able to make good decisions, or whatever the questions the interviewer is asking, you must be in a position to solve them or to give solutions to them, or your answers should be very good and impressive so that you can win the interview. Then engage in a dialogue. Don't put yourself in a question answer mode. Let silence occur. Present your value and always protect your dignity and self-worth. Be engaging and enthusiastic. Always leave the interview with the knowledge of the next step and with a sense of how your candidacy will be evaluated. Ask, how would you like to proceed? How I have provided you with the information you need. Where are you in the process? What will happen next? When should I plan to follow up? So these are the things which you can ask to the interviewer. Next, we will discuss about the most important thing, time management. What are the three factors of time? Organize your life around your family, your career, and your personal goals. So you need to stand back on regular basis and analyze yourself, your life, and your time usage. You need to become a master of your time rather than a slave to continue time pressures. Time is your most precious resource. It is the most valuable thing you have. It is perishable, it is irreplaceable, and it cannot be saved. It can only be reallocated from activities of lower value to activities of higher value. All work requires time, and time is absolutely essential for the important relationships in your life. The very act of taking a moment to think about your time before you spend it, it will be better to improve your personal time management immediately. The starting point, personal time management begins with you. It begins with your thinking through what is really important to you in life. It can only make a sense if you organize it around specific things that you want to accomplish. You need not to set goals in three major areas of your life. First, you need family, then you need your personal goals. So, these are the real reasons why you get up in the morning, why you work hard and upgrade your skills, why do you worry about money, and sometimes why you are feeling frustrated by the demands on your time. So we will think about these issues. We need to decide upon the goals. Decide upon your goals. What are the personal and family goals, both tangible and intangible? A tangible family goal could be a bigger house, a better car, a larger television set, a vacation, or anything else that cost money. An intangible goal would be to build a high quality relationship with your spouse and children, to spend more time with your family, going for walks or reading books. Achieving these family and personal goals are the real essence of time management and its major purpose. The second area of goals is your business and career goals. These are how goals, the means by which you achieve your personal why goals, how you can achieve the level of income that will enable to fulfill your family goals. How can you develop the skills and abilities to stay ahead of the curve in your career? Business and career goals are absolutely essential, especially when balanced with family and personal goals. What is the personal development goals? The third type of goals, which is in your personality development. Remember, you can't achieve much more on the outside than what you have achieved and become on the inside. Your outer life will be the reflection of your inner life. If you wish to achieve worthwhile things in your personal and in your career life, you should become a worthwhile person in your own self-development. You must build yourself if you want to build your life. Perhaps the greatest success is that you can become anything if you really want to become. To achieve any goal that you really want to achieve, in order to do it, you must go on yourself and never stop doing your work. Then and then only you can release and realize your goals. First, we need to develop the habit of stopping on a regular basis and thinking what is really important to you. The more often you stop and think, the better decisions you will be able to make. Second, decide clearly upon your personal and family goals. Write them down, discuss them with others. Be clear about what you are doing and what you do. Third, take some time to think about your career goals and the steps you will have to take to achieve them. Do something every day that makes you move forward in all three areas. Then use a time planner. A time planner broken down by day, hour and a minute, organized in advance, can be one of the most powerful and personal productivity tools of all. It enables you to see where you can consolidate and create blocks of time for concentrated work. You can eliminate all distractions. During this working time, you can turn off the telephone, eliminate all the distractions and the work which you are feeling very stressful. One of the best work habits of all for you is to get up early and work at home in the morning for several hours. You can get 3 times as much work done at home without interruptions as you could do in a busy office when you are surrounded by people and bombarded by phone calls. Then when you fly on business, you can create your office in the air, in the aeroplane, by planning your work thoroughly before you depart. When the plane takes off, you can work non-stop for the entire flight. You will be amazed to know how much work you can go through when you work steadily in airplane without any interruptions. Make every minute count. One of the keys to high levels of performance and productivity is for you that you can make every minute count. Use travel and transition time, what is often called gifts of time, to complete small chunks of larger tasks. Remember, the pyramids were built once a block of a time. A great life and a great career is built one task and often one part of a task at a time. Your job in time management is to deliberately and creatively organize the concentrated time periods you need to get your key jobs done well and rightly on the schedule. Some of the action exercises we will see. Think continually of different ways that you can save, schedule and consolidate large chunks of time. Use this time to work on important tasks with most significant long-term consequences. Then you can make every minute count. Work steadily and continuously without diversion or distraction by planning and preparing your work in advance. Most of all, keep focused on most important results for which you are responsible. Next, we will discuss about the efficiency curve. Self-discipline is the key. What is self-discipline? The ability to make yourself do what you should do, when you should do it, whether you feel like it or not, is called as self-discipline. In the final analysis, success in any area requires tons of discipline. Self-discipline, self-mastery, and self-control are the basic building blocks of the character and high performance. Then you can focus clearly on your number one task. By focusing clearly on the most valuable task and concentrating single-mindedly until it is 100% complete, you can actually shape and mold your own character. You can become a superior person. You become a stronger, more competent, confident, and a happier person. The more you will feel more powerful and more productive. You can build your self-confidence. You eventually feel capable of setting and achieving any goal. You become the master of your own destiny. You place yourself on an ascending spiral of personal effectiveness on which your future is absolutely guaranteed. And the key to all for this is for you to determine the most valuable and important thing you could possibly do, even for one single moment, and then you can have your success in your life. Some of the exercises which I would like to say, that once you start your most important task, discipline yourself to preserve without diversion or distraction until it is 100% complete. See it as a test to determine whether you are the kind of person who can make a decision to complete something and then carry it out. Once you begin, refuse to stop until the job is finished. Next, we will discuss about releasing your brakes. Do you have any ideas or attitudes about yourself and your abilities that may be holding you back from a great success and happiness? As it happens, everyone does. You will learn how to develop the beliefs that can help you and get rid of the false ideas that block you from realizing your full potential. Each one of us has feelings of inferiority that are manifested in the conclusion that we are not good enough. We think that we are not good enough as others. We think that we cannot enjoy things in our life as we want it in our life. Very often we feel that we don't deserve good things. Even if we try to work hard and achieve some worthwhile objectives, we believe that we are not really entitled to our successes, and we often engage in behaviors that sabotage our success. The fact is that you deserve every good thing that you are capable of acquiring as a result of the application of your talents. You need to overcome obstacles. You need to develop your beliefs about yourself to the point where they serve you every day in every way. Men and women who accomplish extraordinary things are just ordinary people who developed themselves mentally to the point where they were able to overcome the obstacles that stood in their way, and they kept on keeping on until the goal was attained. Overcoming obstacles in this, the most harmful beliefs that you can have are what we call self-limiting beliefs. These are the beliefs about yourself, most of which are not true, but they hold you back, nothing less. Sometimes you or others will say that you cannot achieve certain goals because you did not get enough education. But that is not the criteria. If you are talented, then definitely you can receive and have much more success than the educated person. You can also question your excuses. Isn't that what a man knows what hurts him? It's what a man knows is not that true. It is not the actual truth about yourself and your abilities that hurts you. It is the things that you consider to be true and that have no bias in truth. The starting point of changing your beliefs is to get up, to the courage to question them seriously. Question your basic premises, check your assumptions, ask yourself, what assumptions am I making about myself or my situation that might not be true? It's a fact that we fall in love with our excuses and our negative assumptions. We fall in love with our reasons for not moving ahead in our lives. We can argue for our limitations, and sure enough that these arguments are ours. Very often we become the prosecuting attorney in the case against ourselves. We dispute and argue and attempt to prove to ourselves and others that our limitations are real, and the less justification these ideas or beliefs have, the more adamant we become in attempting to prove them to others. Whatever they are, resolve to challenge them, hold them up to the light. Imagine that you had absolute confidence in yourself in a particular area, then act as if it was impossible to fail and it shall be. Then we will practice. Now here are few steps that you can take immediately to put these ideas into the action. First, accept that you are as good, as talented in your own way as anybody else that you can ever believe, or you have ever met such people. There is nothing you can't accomplish if you really want it. Second, challenge a belief or idea about yourself that is holding you back. If you had extraordinary inability in that area, what difference would that make in your life? Third, stop making excuses that lack for success. Instead, start making progress. Make progress, no excuses. Think and talk about what you want, and then get busy making it completely true. The next, you need to be smart. Getting smart. Creativity is your key to the future. All progress come about as a result of finding better, faster, cheaper, easier or different ways to do things, and this requires the continual honing of creative thinking skills. Now, your key job at work. One of the key functions of the executive is problem solving, which takes as much as the 50% of the executive time. It can be said with some confidence that in your ability to deal with problems creatively and effectively is the key determinant of your success as a manager. It would be hard to imagine an effective executive who could not solve problems or make any such kind of decisions with a very high level of competence. We need to step on your own acceleration. There is virtually no problem which you cannot solve, no goal which you cannot achieve, no obstacle which you cannot overcome if you know to apply the creative powers of your mind like a laser beam to cut through every difficulty in your life and at your work. You can get paid more and faster. The benefits of functioning more creatively can be enormous. Each of us wants to earn more money, be promoted faster and enjoy greater status, prestige and recognition. In most cases, however, we can only earn by producing more or of better quality or cheaper or faster, and this requires doing things differently, using creativity. The good news is that creativity is a skill and a talent that can be learned and developed through practice. With this skill, you can dramatically accelerate your personal and professional growth by sharpening your thinking skills and exercising your natural creative powers. You can multiply the value of your efforts and rapidly increase the quantity and quality of your rewards. Then you can practice some of the actions and you can do some of the things to be more creative. First, see yourself as a professional problem solver and look upon every difficulty or challenge as an opportunity to develop your creative powers. Second, you look for problems you can solve and obstacles you can overcome. The more you seek for answers and ideas, the smarter and more creative you will become. So what's the key to charisma? There is a close association between the personal charisma and success in life. Probably 85% of your success and happiness will come from your relationships and interaction with others. The more positively others respond to you, the easier it will be for you to get things you want. What's the law of attraction? In essence, when we discuss charisma, we are talking about the law of attraction. This law has been stated in many different ways down through the centuries, but it basically says that you inevitably attract into your life the people and circumstances that harmonize with your dominant thoughts. You are a living magnet. In sense, you are a living magnet and you are constantly radiating like waves. Like a radio station radiates sound waves that are picked up by the other people, your thoughts, intensified by your emotions as radio waves, are intensified by electrical impulses going out from you and are picked up by anyone who isn't turned into a similar wavelength. You then attract into your life people, ideas, opportunities, resources, circumstances, and anything else that is consistent with your dominant frame of mind. The law of attraction also explains how you can build up your levels of charisma so that you can have greater and more positive impact on the people whose cooperation, support, and affection you desire. Perception is everything. The critical thing to remember about charisma is that it is largely based on perception. It is based on what people think about you. It is not so much reality as it is what people prescribe to you to be. For example, one person can create charisma in another person by speaking in glowing terms about the person to a third party. If you believe that you are about to meet an outstanding and important person, the person will tend to have charisma to you. One of the most charismatic people in the world was Mother Teresa of Calcutta. In a physical sense, she was quite elderly, frail woman in poor health, and she wore a modest nun's habit. She might have been ignored by a person passing her on a street were it not for the tremendous charisma that she developed and for the fact that her appearance was so well known to so many people as a result. How would you feel if someone told you that he was going to introduce you to a brilliant, self-made millionaire who was very quiet and unassuming about his success? You would almost naturally imbue that person with charisma, and in his presence you would not act the same as you would if you had been told nothing at all. Charisma begins largely in the mind of the beholder. So, the most important thing that you need to think about yourself as a very good and a very best person. Lastly, charisma depends more upon the person you really are than upon just the things you do. Continually look for the ways to improve others' perceptions of you so that you can be more influential with them. Be a living magnet. These are the two things which you can do. First, be clear about the messages you are sending and the prescriptions that you are creating in others. Are these prescriptions consistent with the impressions you want to make? Second, see yourself and imagine yourself every day as an important, powerful, and charming person. Treat others as you would if you are already strong, famous, and influential. Fake it until you make it. And definitely, you are remarkable. The starting point of maturity is a realization that no one is coming to the rescue. Everything you are or ever will be entirely up to you. Take complete charge. This life is not a rehearsal for anything else. This is the real thing. The game is on. Time is passing quickly, and all of your decisions and indecisions, your actions and inactions have added up to create the life you are living at this very minute. If you want things to be different in the future, you will have to make things different in the present. If you have to take complete charge of yourself and your life and make things change, because they won't change by themselves. You need to make change. You need to make difference both in your life and your thoughts. Be your own manager. Self-management is really personal management, time management, life management. It's putting your hands firmly on the steering wheel of your life and then taking yourself in your chosen direction. If you don't change, the road you are traveling on will probably end up where you are going. Every successful man or woman made at one time or another a firm decision about where he or she wanted to go and then took deliberate steps to go there, and you can do this for yourself as well. View yourself differently. View yourself as a bundle of resources. You can benefit from this idea by standing back and looking at yourself in terms of what you are instead of what you do. We tend to define ourselves in terms of our work, in terms of what we are spending most of our time doing the present moment. When we meet someone, even at bus stop, we describe ourselves in terms of our jobs. We say things such as, I am a salesperson, I am a manager, or I work in such a business doing such a job. Since we tend to become what we think about, the more we describe ourselves to others as being what we do, the more we think of ourselves as what we do. Perhaps this is why people who are fired or laid off through a period of shock, they go and emotional turmoil. It's as though that they have been cut off from the identities. You may have had the experience. The fact is that you are not what you do. Instead, you are a bundle of resources. You have the combination of ingredients that make you unique and remarkable human being, different from anyone else who have lived or who have ever will live. You have undergone a wide variety of experiences, both positive and negative. You have had a formal education and you have learned from various jobs and activities that you have got engaged in. You have a unique intelligence, much of which isn't yet developed to the full. You have skills that you have acquired through hard work, discipline, and practice. You have the abilities that you were born with, which makes it easy for you to do certain jobs and to accomplish certain tasks. You have energy and ambition and goals and opportunities. You are unique. You have the philosophy of life, however developed it is. You have the attitudes and perspectives that make you extraordinary. The government has identified more than 1 lakh different job categories. When you put all your skills together, you are probably capable of excelling at hundreds of jobs, doing different things in different organizations, business, and industries. So, how will you practice it? First, make a clear decision about what it is you want to do, and then get busy doing it. Second, define yourself in terms of your unique talents and abilities instead of your job title. Third, view yourself as an incredible bundle of resources who can do variety of jobs in a quite well position. You are remarkable. Everybody wants to be physically healthy. You want to be mentally healthy as well. The true measure of mental fitness is how optimistic you are about yourself and your life. You will learn how to control your thinking in a very specific ways so that you feel terrific about yourself and your situation no matter what happens. There are 3 basic differences in the reactions of optimist and a pessimist. The first difference is that the optimist sees a setback as a temporary, while the pessimist sees it as a permanent. The optimist sees an unfortunate event such as the order that falls through or sales call that fails as a temporary event, something that is limited in time and that has no real impact on the future. The pessimist, on the other hand, sees negative events as permanent, as a part of life and destiny. The second difference between the optimist and the pessimist is that the optimist sees difficulties as specific, while pessimist sees them as pervasive. This means that when things go wrong for the optimist, he looks at the event as an isolated incident largely disconnected from other things that are going in his life. For example, you were counting on to fail to materialize and you interpreted it to yourself as being an unfortunate event, but something that happens in the course of the life and business. You would be reacting as an optimist. The pessimist, on the other hand, sees disappointments as being pervasive. That is, to him, they are the indications of a problem or a shortcoming that pervades every area of life. The third difference between optimist and a pessimist is that optimists see events as external, while pessimists interpret events as personal. While things go wrong, the optimist will tend to see the setback as a resulting from external factors over which one has little control. If the optimist is cut off in traffic, for example, getting angry or upset, he will simply downgrade the importance of event by saying something like, "Oh well, I guess that the person is having a bad day, just a bad day." The pessimist, on the other hand, has a tendency to take everything personally. If the pessimist is cut off in traffic, he will react as though the other driver has deliberately acted to upset and frustrate him. So we shouldn't take any of the failures personally. We should remain calm and objective. The hallmark of the fully mature, fully functioning, self-actualizing personality is the ability to be objective and unemotional when caught up in the inevitable storms of daily life. The superior person has the ability to continue talking to himself in a positive and optimistic way, keeping his mind calm, clear, and completely under control. We need to remain calm and objective. The mature personality is more relaxed and aware and capable of interpreting events more realistically and less emotionally than it is in the immature personality. As a result, the mature person exerts a far greater sense of control and influence over his environment and is far less likely to be angry, upset, or distracted. Let us take the long view. Look upon the inevitable setbacks that you face as being temporary, specific, and external. View the negative situation as a single event that is not connected to other potential events and that is caused largely by external factors over which you can have little control. Simply refuse to see the event as being in any way permanent, pervasive, or indicative of personal incompetence or inability. Resolve to think like an optimist. No matter what happens, you may not be able to control events, but you can control the way how you can react to those events. Now you can do certain things where you can practice. First, remind yourself continually that setbacks are only temporary. They will soon be past and nothing is as serious as you think it is. Second, look upon each problem as a specific event, not connected to other events and not indicative of a pattern of any kind. Deal with it and get on with your life. Third, recognize that when things go wrong, they are usually caused by a variety of external events. Say to yourself, what can't be cured, what must be endured, and then get back to thinking about your goals. Next thing which we would like to discuss is the will to conquer is the first condition of victory. Now we will discuss how to be successful. A person must be daring to go forward in his life. This is called as courageous patience, the willingness and the ability to stay in the course is the face of uncertainty, doubt, and often criticism from many quarters. What is courage? Courage may be C. Compassion for others. O. Overcoming fear. U. Understanding the reasons. R. Removing the barriers. A. Always believing. G. Going the distance. And E. Expecting to win. So this is the complete definition of courage, where you need courage to build yourself. What is fear on the other hand? F stands for false. E for evidence. A for appearing, R for real. We need to follow through on your vision. In a way, it is easy to develop a big vision for yourself and for the person you want to be. It is easy to commit yourself to living with complete integrity, but it requires incredible courage to follow through on your vision and your commitments. You see, as soon as you set a high goal or a standard for yourself, you will run into all kinds of difficulties and setbacks. But you shouldn't refuse to compromise. You will be surrounded by temptations to compromise on your values and your vision. You will feel an almost irresistible urge to get along by going alone. Your desire to earn the respect and cooperation of others can easily lead to abandonment of your principles, and here is where courage comes in. Stick to your principles. Courage combined with integrity is the foundation of character. The first form of courage is your ability to stick to your principles, to stand for what you believe in, and to refuse to budge unless you feel the right about the alternative. Courage is also the ability to step out in faith, to launch out into the unknown, and then to face the inevitable doubt and the uncertainty that accompany every new venture. Then we should also avoid our comfort zone. Most people are seduced by the lure of the comfort zone. This can be linked to the going out of a warm house on a cold or a windy morning. The average person, when he feels the storm swirling outside his comfort zone, rushes back inside when it's nice and warm. So we should avoid a comfort zone, but not the true leader. The true leader has the courage to step away from the familiar and the comfortable, to face the unknown with no guarantee of success. It is this ability to boldly go where no man has gone before that distinguishes you as a leader from the average person. This is the example that you must set if you are to rise above the average. It is this example that inspires and motivates other people to rise above their previous levels of accomplishments as well. We remember the attack of Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great, the king of Macedonia, was one of the most superb leaders of all time. He became king at the age of 19, while his father Philip II was assassinated. In the next 11 years, he conquered much of the known world, leading his armies against numerically superior forces. So, we need to lead the action. Yet, when he was at the height of his power, the master of the known world, the greatest ruler in the history to that date, he would still draw his sword at the beginning of a battle and lead his men forward into the conflict. He insisted on leading by example. Alexander felt that he could not ask his men to risk their lives unless he was willing to demonstrate by his actions that he had complete confidence in the outcome. The sight of the Alexander charging forward so excited and motivated his soldiers that no force on the earth could stand before them. So what we will do? First, set big goals for yourself and force yourself out of the comfort zone by acting boldly. Even when there is no guarantee of success, go boldly where no one has gone before. Second, resolve to act quickly and decisively when you are confronted with difficult or dangerous situation. Dare to go forward. Practice audacity in all things. Acting with courage builds your courage and confidence higher and higher. Then last we will discuss steps for a super attitude. It is not what happens to you that counts. It is how you react to what happens to you, especially when you have unexpected problems of any kind. In this message, you will learn powerful strategies you can use to keep yourself thinking and acting positively and creatively. Here are 4 things you can do to assure that your attitude is the very best it can be under all circumstances. First, focus on the future. First, whatever challenges that you face, focus on the future rather than on the past. Instead of worrying about what did what and who is to blame, focus on where you want to be and what you want to do. Get a clear mental image of your successful idea, and then whatever action you can do, begin moving in that direction. Get your mind, your thoughts, your mental images on the future. Think about the future. Then you can focus on the solution. Second, when you are faced with a difficulty, focus on the solution rather than on the problem. Think and talk about the ideal solution to the obstacle or setback rather than wasting time rehashing and reflecting on the problem. Solutions are inherently positive, whereas problems are inherently negative. The instant that you begin thinking in terms of solutions, you become a positive and a constructive human being. You should always look for the good. Third, assume that something good is hidden within each difficulty or challenge. And remember this, whenever God wants to give us a gift, He wraps it in a problem. The bigger the gift you have coming, the bigger the problem you will receive. But the wonderful thing is that if you look for the gift, you will always find it. Look for the valuable lesson. Fourth, assume whatever happened, whatever situation you are facing at the moment is exactly the right situation you need to ultimately be successful. This situation has set up to you to help you to learn something, to help you to become better, and help you to expand and grow. So what do successful people do? A positive mental attitude is indispensable to your success. You can be as positive as you want to be if you simply think about the future. Focus on the solution, look for the good. If you do what other successful people do, if you use your mind to exert mental control over the situation, you will be positive and cheerful most of the times, and you will reap the benefits enjoyed by all successful people. So, to be successful and to be successful in your life, in your work, try to be solution oriented with every difficulty you face. Make a habit of looking for the answers to your questions, the solution to your problems. Second, seek for the valuable lesson in every adversity. Make a list of every idea or insight you gain from every setback or difficulty. Think the last thing which you would do, think on a paper. Take some time to write out every detail of the problem and then take the most logical next step to solve it. That is the way where you can solve all the difficulties and doubts in your life. And I would like to say that the work of the individual still remains the spark that moves mankind forward. Once again, I would like to conclude that this life is yours. Take the power to choose what you want to do and do it well. Take the power to love what you want in life and love it honestly. Take the power to walk in the forest and be a part of the nature. Take the power to control your life. No one else can do it for you. Take the power to make your life happy. This is all I would like to say, and definitely you will make your personality much better than me. Thank you.